this vibrant presentation will be done on different phishing scams that are out there and the different ways that people try and get access to you and your information and the things that you want to protect. My name is Charles Meyers, and I'm an assistive technology trainer with Massachusetts Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And today we're going to be talking about the two different ways, I've delineated them in two different ways, but there are many different ways that scammers and hackers will try and access your information. The two different delineations that I've made are through text scams, and then those are scams that are done over not like text messages, but things like emails, text messages, things like that. And then there will be things like over voice, which are phone calls or people that come to your home and things like that. So the first one is one that we all know and love. We've been dealing with since the beginning of email, and that is phishing scams. A phishing scam is when a entity or a person attempts to pretend as though they are a trusted source that you can interface with. So a very common one is you'll get an email from somebody pretending to be your bank, and they will say, "Oh, your password has been compromised, and you need to click this link to get into a password reset page, and then from there, you will enter your information on a page that probably looks similar to the banking page. It is not the same page as the page that you bank on. There will probably be an oddity in the website. There will definitely be an oddity in the email, the sender's address, email address. So, for instance, it could be Apple, Apple accessibility or Apple, Apple security, but the Apple has a one instead of, one of the L's is a one. This is designed so that they can get around, people that don't look very closely, and kind of make an effort to bamboozle you. So the other way that you will see phishing scams is through text. These are called smishing scams, which I think is kind of funny. It is typically a random number with which we interact with many random numbers, different multi-factor authentication or different notification systems will send us text messages through pretty much random short numbers. And these types of scams are done by saying, you have a package that is being held at a UPS facility. Pay the $2.99 delivery fee to get access to this package. Or you have unpaid excise taxes for your vehicle. They are essentially ways to get you to put in your banking information because you feel that, oh, I may have gotten a package actually that I've been waiting for, and this person told me that they sent it and it hasn't come yet, and oh, this is probably it. This has been the holdup. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to get access to your information, and they're trying to prey on a lack of communication between you and the sender, or the sender and the postal system. So there's tons of different ways to get updates on your packages, a random notification that a package is waiting for you and you have to pay to get it. is not going to be one of the ways you get that information. So those are the two those are the two scams that you'll get very commonly over texts and also through email. These are done using written word and sent over an electronic medium to try and get you to circumvent your security yourself. They're trying to get you to do the work. So those are very common. And at the end, once I'm done talking about the two different types of the two categories of scams, we'll talk about ways to avoid them and what to do to combat them. So the second delineation that I've made are, I call them voice scams. These are where people will call you or um, they'll try and uh, get you to call them, and then when you do, they'll use that interaction to try and facilitate their hack or their scam. The first one, and this one is fairly is has become fairly common actually, is it's called it's essentially an emergency scam. And so what will happen is you'll be sitting enjoying your day and you'll get a phone call. And that phone call will say, your son was in an accident. We need you to give us this information about him. Or, um, they'll give you a catastrophic scenario that you would want to intervene in. And they do this to promote a sense of urgency. And what they'll do is they'll say, "Oh, I'm with the guy at the bank, and we're setting up an account, and I just, what's your social security number again? I can't remember it." And they will essentially just try and manipulate you into giving your information because it's like, oh, well, I think I know this person. I think I know what's going on, and I trust this person with my information, or there's probably not an issue with this, and it it they're essentially preying on you feeling like you ought to help, or that you you know they're presenting you with a situation that you would like to solve, or you would like to be involved with the solution of. And that sense of urgency is very common. It's one of the things that we'll talk about a little bit more when we go over the overview for how to combat these scams. The second one is a password reset scam, where these are more common through text, but they've been popping up through calls recently, where somebody will message you a reset code, and or you'll get a message for a reset code, and then you'll get a phone call shortly afterwards. And the phone call will be, "Oh, I accidentally sent my code to you. I didn't mean to do that. Could you just give that to me? I put the wrong number in when I started this verification process, and I put your number in. And can you just give me that code?" And what they are trying to do in that moment is they are trying to get you to give up the verification code that your bank has sent you. And so this is a attempt to they've attempted to log into your account. The multi-factor authentication is kicked in, and then you are uh, essentially interrupted before you can figure out what the multi-factor authentication is for. And that is by that's their attempt to sneak in between the defenses that you've set up and your the provider that they're trying to get to. So then this one is also this one's between the two types of scams. So these scams have really been popping up in the most recently, in probably the past 6 months to a year, they are essentially it's essentially like a love scam where somebody will start to they'll send a message that doesn't really have anything to do with anything really. They're they're trying to cast a wide net, and what they do is they will text you something like, "Hey," and they'll get the name wrong often. Um, so I get a lot of these on my work phone. Um, and what will happen is they will message you and they'll be like, "Oh, I was in town last night. I didn't see you at the event." And you'll engage them in conversation, and the conversation will go something like, "Well, who are you? Who is this? What event are you talking about?" "Oh, the event downtown, blah, blah, blah." And they won't answer the first part. And essentially, what these types of scams are designed to do is they are designed to engage you in conversation so that you don't really even realize that you've essentially let a wolf into your daily interactions. And over the course of months, sometimes even years, these people will message and they will try and build a relationship with you. And all of it will be off of from a singular moment where they message just a number that they thought might be vulnerable for this kind of interaction, and they're off to the races. And you don't even realize that it started to happen. And these types of scams typically kind of evolve into oh, we've spoken for such a long time. I need help with X thing, or you're the only person that I can talk to about this, and I really need your help, and blah blah blah, and I'm trying to come see you, but I can't see you, and I need X amount of money in order to come see you. And what they are trying to do is they are trying to prey on the interaction between the daily interaction, not just this one-off moment, but they're trying to prey on the daily interaction between you and that person by building a relationship and then quite literally capitalizing on that relationship. And so these scams are very hard to detect because of the fact that it starts as something very innocuous, a missent text message. And once you engage that and you start adding them to your daily cohort of messages and people that you contact, it can, you won't even know that this has happened until they start to request things from you. And with the advancements of the AI voice, the AI voice chatbots, this has gotten worse because the way that we used to detect these before is we would say, "Oh, can you do a phone call?" And you would do a phone call with this person, and it would become immediately obvious that they either weren't who they said they were, or that it was the situation was kind of what you had thought in the back of your mind or feared, that this wasn't really a person interested in you, or that they were trying to get something out of you. That's a lot harder to do when the medium, the voice medium, is something that can be manipulated. And so I say this affectionately, but don't respond to messages that just seem random, that you haven't that you know uh, that don't seem like they're supposed to be addressed to you and don't have anything to do with you. Those messages are definitely broadcast phishing scams that are trying to see if you will bite. Essentially, I mean, that's why they're called phishing. They're casting a wide net and seeing who bites. And so those scams have become a lot more prevalent because of the voice AI chatbots and because of the ability to create images. And so what you will see happening with people is, and this has happened with a lot more folks than you would think, they engage, one of those messages. Oh, hey, I didn't see you at the event last night. Well, you know, I'm back in the city. Would you like to, get a beer? Those types of random messages will typically evolve into, like I said before, a kind of romance scam. And that will be where the person is soliciting affection from you and or giving affection and saying, "Oh, I really, you're really cute," or I can't talk to anybody else like I could talk to you. And what they'll do is they'll send you a picture of themselves, and a lot of these pictures are AI made. And so what's happening is that they don't have to go to some place and take a bunch of photos and manipulate them. They can just craft these images on ChatGPT or any of the other AI platforms and Claude or any of them, and from their own home craft a life or a being that doesn't exist. And so then what they'll do is they'll ask you something about sending money or gift cards or help with an emergency, or I would really like to come see you, but I can't because it's so expensive. And those are designed to prey upon your feelings to get you to give them money or get you to give them some things. So what can we do about these? Now, I'm going to go through the first one, the first kind of answer to this. And one of the interesting things about our population is that screen readers can provide a little bit of a boon in dealing with these these scams. And what do I mean by that? Because it we would think it would be the case that, oh, well, I can't see the differences, so how is it easier? Well, the sites and the emails and the pop-ups are designed to visually trick a user. And they do this by looking like, sounding like the actual entity that you would want to interact with. So banking or with your social media, or really anything that people can get access to, they will try. Banking is the big one. Banking and email are the two primary methods that or the two primary mediums that these people target, and or your computer to download a virus of some sort. The screen readers will typically read out to you the 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 website or the sender, and in that moment you will be able to hear that they are not actually from the place that they are saying they're from. So,
Charles,
for
I have a
instance,
real life example of that happened to
oh
me
yeah,
last
go
year.
for it.
Um, I was getting a thing from PayPal, so PAYPAL, except the L was a one, so it was
Hmm.
PayPal one. And I was like, what is PayPal one? Until I figured out that visually they're trying to get the one to look like the L, just a straight up and down line. So
Yep.
I caught it quickly that it said PayPal one. I was like, okay, that I'm deleting that.
Yeah,
But that's a kind of an example of that
that's
occurring.
that's a perfect example, and that is exactly what they'll do, because the email accounts that they're sending these from are not allowing them to put in Apple blah, blah, blah. They will not let them do that. And so in order to circumvent that, what they'll do is they'll try and put a one in or put a dash in or something like that. And when they do that, the screen reader tells us, like Aaron said, pay pa one. I can't even say it. And that is an example of the screen reader helping us to know, because visually we would get tricked if it was the case that we were just reading it. So letting the screen reader do the work to tell us what it is that that we're getting an email from is helpful to us in that moment.
Yeah,
Now,
I have
Author,
another one.
other
oh,
Charles.
that I
hey,
use.
Dave.
Oh, somebody else is talking.
What?
Carol. It's
Hi,
Carol.
Carol.
Hi. So I do have vision, but I do get lots of these scams, and like I'll get the one about Geek Squad, here's your Geek Squad bill or stuff like that. And of course I haven't been to Geek Squad, so I know it's phony, but I find that if I can click on the from who it's from, it'll have an official like it's Best Buy blah blah or it's Geek Squad blah blah blah. But if you click on it and see what it really is, it'll pop up and it'll say, it's John so and so, some random email. So if you have software that will speak to you, try clicking on who it says it's from up in the header, the to from area, and their real email will pop up and it's some random person's name, and often it's something really garbagey. So that always tells me it's phony. It's just
Yeah,
a thought.
Yeah.
Dave.
Another
What
one to
was
watch
you going to
for
say?
is a little closer to tricky is when they have email addresses. They can have two extensions on an email address, but the first one is not, I guess, fully screened or whatever by the domain server. So I did receive one from mass.gov.com saying my driver's license is being revoked and send them some money.
Yep, yep. Another.
So the point is, .gov was in there, and that makes it sound valid. But then you got the .com after it, and you know it's invalid. But it's pretty sneaky. You have to watch for it,
Yeah, in
especially
the
since I got a valid driver's license. Uh,
uh, um
anyway,
um yeah, use that often.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I
um
won't tell it. I stick my cane out the window, but
um so that's a great example. This is a place where voiceover or narrator or JAWS does a lot of work for us. It will read out what their email is, and it will tell you if you just listen. It, like Aaron said, like Dave said, it will tell you what the full email is, and in doing that, it gives up the jig for what they're trying to do. Um, so that in the screen reader software, it's reading to us exactly what is on the page. And a lot of these scams use a visual trick to get you to think that it's from a reliable place, and it's not. Another place where the screen readers help us actually are on pop-ups for when you're on a website. JAWS and narrator and even voiceover will kind of glitch out when you come across a pop-up that is attempting to download something or put something on your computer that shouldn't be, or get your authorization to put something on your computer that shouldn't be. It will kind of freak out a little bit, mostly because the what is happening there, where it's like your computer has a virus and it's yelling at you. and somehow it's broadcasting this at full volume, such that your entire neighborhood can hear. What is happening there is they have essentially coded this to do things that most websites will not do or not authorize doing. And the reason for that is because they want to make it so that it is as noticeable and obtrusive as can be, so that you feel the need to turn it off, to resolve it. And so it makes you think, oh, it is the case that my computer is hacked and I need to click this thing now because it's screaming at me at a bajillion decibels. And my advice for that is, if that happens, turn your computer off and turn it back on. VoiceOver will glitch out a little bit when it reads this thing. It will say Microsoft Defend, and then it will keep trying to read, and it won't do it well. And that is an attempt to kind of let us know, because VoiceOver is like, I don't even know what this is, or JAWS or narrator is like, I don't even know what this is. I'm reading it to the best of my ability, but this is my best guess. Most things that are designed to notify us that there's a problem, those can interact with VoiceOver, and VoiceOver can read those. If it's flipping out, if it's yelling at you, turn it off and turn it on. Unless you click something, unless you authorize something, nothing can get on your computer. It's just a scary scenario that you find yourself with. So those are kind of the answers to the more text-based. And some of the other solutions that I'm going to talk about now are not necessarily solutions, but they're kind of ways to navigate the internet and be mindful of the fact that these scams, these hacks are going on.
Charles, may I ask you a question?
Yeah, what's up, Peter?
If you see in your email lists or in your text message lists, if you tap on a message or an email, that in itself does not make you vulnerable.
Correct.
And if you then tap on something to link, that makes you vulnerable?
Not necessarily. So I know that's an unsatisfying answer, but so let's use the text message example first, because it's an easier answer. For text messages, if you get a message and you tap on that message, that doesn't make you vulnerable. If there's a link in the message and you tap on that link, that doesn't necessarily make you vulnerable either. What those things will do is they will then ask you to input information. They'll send you to a place where they are trying to get you to put in your information so that you can become vulnerable.
Right.
So for the texting, even if you click on the link, which I wouldn't advise, but if you have, say, that does not necessarily mean that you are vulnerable. For the computer, when you get an email, and this is for the computer, not for an email on your phone. For the computer, that's a little bit of a different story, because if you click the link, it's 70 or 80-20 that you're not vulnerable. Because in order to make you vulnerable, you need to give an authorization, or you need to put in information to give them access to either your computer or the website or the bank that they're trying to get into.
Mm-hmm.
So,
just opening the email does not make you vulnerable.
No, Just opening the email does not make you vulnerable.
Thank you.
Yeah, to kind of highlight how this is the case, lots of emails will not load certain elements if they're not through trusted senders. And what that means is that it used to be the case that when you got an email, everything that was in the email would get sent to your computer. You would click it and it would open it. It would open the pictures there. It would open, you know, the media that was on there, and those files would come to your computer and they would be on your computer. That is where it is the case that because your computer was like, well, I'm going to download the whole email, you could be vulnerable. But now it's the case that only certain types of things are allowed to be sent through email, meaning only certain types of files. And the computer and the email provider will not download everything attached to the email. That's not like an attachment, but like the images, the multimedia, things like that. It won't just download that all to your computer. And part of that is also because the files are now hosted on the email server itself, as opposed to being sent directly to your computer. And then you open it with your computer, and then suddenly you've opened a whole can of worms that you didn't realize you were opening. The change in how the email servers work and where the files are hosted has kind of been a little bit of a boon for us in terms of mitigating that risk. So no, just opening it won't necessarily do it, but clicking the link and then following the instructions on the link does put you at risk.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome, Peter. So the kind of tips that I'm going to go over for the standard operating procedure of how to approach these issues. The first one is slow down. It is the case that a lot of these scams and phishing attempts are designed to make you feel a sense of urgency so that you don't stop to think about what it is that you're putting in, where it is that you're putting it in, and who it is that's asking. A lot of these hacks rely on, oh, your password has been compromised. That is designed to make you feel as though you are currently at risk. You are currently under siege. And if you do not change your password at this very moment, you're going to be taken for everything you have. But that is a manipulation. That is by design to make you feel that way so that when they ask you for the information, you give it without a second thought. So my first piece of advice, and I would say this for any problem that you come across where somebody is asking you for information, is slow down. There are many different ways to figure out if you are actually under threat. There are many different systems in place that are designed to tell you if you're under threat. That system will not be some random text that you didn't ask for, and it will not be through the link that they gave you. So the first piece of advice is slow down. The sense of urgency that people are trying to utilize to get you to circumvent your own security is the sense of urgency. Joan, you have your hand raised. You can unmute yourself. It is Alt A.
All right. I just wanted to mention I had a scam with an iPhone, and One of it's kind of the classic confidence game. In other words, they gain your confidence by not only um, telling you that it's an emergency, but that they're saving you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that they've just rode up on a white horse because your
Mm-hmm.
password has been compromised to your AT&T account. And I think your advice about slowing down and taking a deep breath is really a good one. Um, and because you can always get off the phone and contact AT&T.
And on that note, that leads me to my next point, which is, um, if you feel like so a good thing to do if somebody calls you and tries to be your white knight for a problem you didn't know you had, just like Joan just mentioned, is to say, "Oh, well, I'm not really sure about this. I'm gonna say it's your bank. I'm gonna call my bank directly." That that phrase, "I'm gonna call my bank directly," if their response is no, 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 we have to take care of this now, you are really at risk, and it will take so much time that that if we don't do it now, you're gonna lose everything. The response from anybody that works as a banker or in the banking industry or in the security industry will be, absolutely, you can reach me, you can call the main line, and you can ask for this, or you can call your local bank and talk to the person that you're used to and figure this out with them. They will never, ever, ever, ever convince you to stay on the line so that they can be the one to solve your problem. That will not happen. And the moment that does happen, you know that person is scamming you, because anybody that actually is invested in your security will know that is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. And just like Joan said, that sense of urgency that they're trying to capitalize on, that comes from them trying to isolate you so that you think that the person on the phone with you at that moment, is the only path to your salvation and solution for the problem. And that is socially designed to make you isolated and only dealing with them. So slow down. Um, there's nothing that is so urgent in our world today that requires you to talk to only one person and one person alone. There are records. We can reverse transactions. We can reverse payments. There are tons of different ways that banks can interact with transactions and stuff like that don't require you to instantaneously and only with one person solve the problem. So, first one is slow down. The second one, and I know that this is not gonna be a popular one, but use multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is when a is when an email is used to say you access a website and you try and log on. When you try and log on, it will say a one-time password has been sent to your email or text message. Use that password to enter the website. This is a pain in the butt, but it is one of the best ways to make it so that you are secure. And the reason for that is because if passwords can get compromised. If you use a consistent password, which many people do, across multiple devices and multiple accounts, if one of those accounts gets compromised, all of them can get compromised. That's not to say that all of them will be compromised, but if you have common passwords and one gets figured out, you're in a little bit of trouble, because without multi-factor authentication, all they need is that one password. Now, sites have figured out ways to stop this, and one of the ways is, oh, you're logging in from a location that is not your normal location. You're in Massachusetts and suddenly, you're trying to log in from San Antonio, Texas. And, it's the case that, oh, well, you never log in from San Antonio, Texas. How is it that you logged in there earlier today and now suddenly you're logging in from way down there, or it will be at an odd hour. So those in those circumstances, the website will highlight and will know, oh, this is not a usable place that you are logging in from. So the websites have their own ways of kind of dealing with that, where they will, come up with their own kind of neat, handy dandy solutions. But multi-factor authentication will make it so that if a website doesn't have that, then in order for you to get any access to your account, it has to be the case that you enter that code. And so that in that way, you can't, nobody can just get into it just because they have your password. So multi-factor authentication, which is a pain in the butt to access sometimes, you need to have access to your email, you need to, copy something from your text messages. That can be a little bit annoying to do, but it does make it more secure. We had a question in the chat here. Should we never click the help chat AI button when we go to pop up a banking? So that's a good question. On the website that you are using, so let's say you're on TSA's website. Their AI bot can help you with answering questions of, oh, how do I fill out this form? Or, oh, what is the, what's the, what do I need to change in my account to be, categorized as this type of flyer so that I can get assistive services when I arrive at the platform. The AI bots and the chat AI buttons and things like that are useful because they can answer questions instead of you having to go through looking it up elsewhere or things like that. So I wouldn't say that that's a risk to your security. It's more that just they're not all implemented in a great way. So different sites will have different levels of functionality of their AI chatbots to answer questions, and some of them are like, well, this seems like a waste of time, and then others seem to be actually helpful. So that's probably not necessarily a satisfactory answer, Michelle, but I wouldn't say that you should be worried about clicking those. It's really when an external method of communication that is not common or that you didn't ask for pops up, that's when you should be hesitant, because you didn't ask for it, you're getting it anyway, and somehow they're asking you questions or they're trying to get you to give them information that you wouldn't normally give. So yeah, I would say they're safe, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're all helpful. So use multi-factor authentication and slow down. The other thing that I would say is you can use password managers. I find that password managers are very helpful. The main reason is that they do not let you, well, they do let you put in a password of your own, and they will save that password so that you can use it when you're accessing that website or that application. It is the case that they can create passwords for you. And those passwords are random letters, numbers, and characters. And those types of passwords are very hard to hack because the only way that you can hack them is by hacking the algorithm that created them. And that is very difficult because these companies' entire shtick is to create an algorithm and create a safe password that you can rely upon and not have to worry about. So yeah, multi-factor authentication is good. Password managers are good because they kind of circumvent your own creation, and they make it so that social engineering doesn't work, because if you have a password manager, you're not using the same password for all your accounts. And then just to touch on one more thing that I touched on before, when somebody calls you or somebody, so I'll give an example. In the early thousands, there was a hack that went on at different bank chains where people would be putting their information into an ATM. They would open up the ATM. They would put in their PIN, and then they would start doing their transaction. And what would happen is that a person impersonating a bank employee would come over and they would say, "Oh, this ATM is actually out of order. You can't deposit checks here." Say that's what it is. You're trying to deposit a check. They say, "Oh, well, you can't deposit checks here," and they're in their uniform and they put a out of order sign on the ATM, and then the person goes to a different ATM. They say, "You can use this ATM here over here." This hack is called a hack of authority. And what it is designed to do, and this kind of touches on my response to Joan's question about, or Joan's comment about slowing down, which is that if you say, "I'm going to call the bank directly to make sure that this is real," they will say, "Absolutely, do that." They will not say, "No, no, no, I'm the only person that can help you. I'm an authority on this issue. You need me to solve your problem." That is using their authority to get you to do this thing. And that is called a hack of authority. And so what they would do is they would direct them to another ATM, and then they would say, "Oh, okay, do this, your transaction over here." And there were many ways that they could kind of get you to do that. But the biggest one was by saying, "Oh, well, I'm an employee of the bank, and this is the case of what it is. And, here, go do this." So that is using their authority to kind of get you to follow their instructions.
Charles,
Yeah,
can I
what's
ask a
up,
quick
Peter?
question?
Yeah.
You mentioned the password manager. Um,
Yes.
uh, uh, Apple often gives you the opportunity for the iPhone or iPad or iMac to create a strong password for you. Uh,
Hmm.
and the security that Apple also has for their devices is so strong. Would you then need a password manager? Oh, on top of that?
Well, that is a password manager.
Right. Okay.
It's Apple's password manager. So to answer your question, no, because you're already using one. Um,
Okay.
And Michelle asked a question in the chat. What about when you are entering your email and hide my password pops up? The hide my password is for visual users. And what it does is it either makes it so that there are these black dots, or it makes it so if you click hide your password, what it's doing there is it's putting the black dots as opposed to the actual characters and letters. If you don't have that clicked, then it can show your password, but that's really only a visual medium thing that you would have to worry about.